Elbaf is just around the corner, and I have an itching suspicion that it is going to be Usopp's arc. The idea that Usopp has been tied to Elbaf has been around as long as dinosaurs have been around in One Piece. Literally, because there are actual dinosaurs in Little Garden. And it was there in chapter 117 that Usopp first declared that he wanted to visit the Village of Warriors. Of course, there are many other reasons why Usopp was intrinsically tied to Elbaf too, like how Usopp is based on the Greek fabulist Aesop, who was most known for his collection of stories called Aesop's Fables. And Elbaf, spelled backwards, is simply fable. So Usopp going to Elbaf is the perfect nod to this inspiration. So now that we're heading to the land of his dreams, what's waiting for Usopp there? How will he grow as a warrior or even as a character? Well, maybe I'm a bit optimistic, but I think he could get a plethora of needed polish in this arc, and that is what I wanted to discuss today. All of the possible events we could witness here on Elbaf. To start things off, let's talk about the character development Usopp could get here. Character growth comes in all shapes and sizes, and for Usopp, that is especially true. His dream of becoming a brave warrior of the sea can mean different things depending on who you ask. According to Usopp in 117, a brave warrior is someone who is willing to fight to the death for what they believe in. It's that unwavering will that he wishes to acquire someday. Believe it or not, but Usopp has taken small steps towards this goal already throughout the series. Some small moments where he's taken his stand against opposition would be at Enies Lobby, against Luffy and even Lucci, and at Dressrosa against Trouble. And lastly, the one I wanted to focus on today was back at Logtown with his duel against Daddy Masterson. Before the duel could even start, Usopp tried to run away from this battle because he was horrified by the outcome. But after hearing a story about how his father Yasopp beat Masterson in a duel and ended up sparing him due to his own beliefs, Usopp gained the courage to tackle Daddy's challenge one last time, in which he succeeded. Before people come out of the woodworks and say that Daddy Masterson isn't canon since he was in the anime but not in the manga, Oda actually came out with a Logtown arc novel which did include Daddy Masterson and many other scenes shown in the anime from this town. Due to timing with the manga though, he was unable to include these scenes, so generally this is seen more as cut content rather than anime filler. The reason I wanted to expand on that one moment with Usopp and Masterson is because I believe that is a dynamic we could see here on Elbaf. With the Red Hair crew last being spotted on this island and with Dory and Brogy being quite close to Shanks, I believe we will hear many tales about how brave and courageous his father Yasopp has been during his adventures. And with those stories comes a high bar of expectations for Usopp. This is something I believe that anyone can resonate with, being compared to your father and the burden of that weight. Whether Usopp lives up to Yasopp's name or not, I believe there will be a good amount of personal growth that could come out of this. Succeed, and you're your father's son. Fail, and you become your own man. Another idea regarding Yasopp has to do with his time spent on the island. We aren't too sure how the Red Hair Pirates got to the power level they're at today, but if they trained here in Elbaf, maybe Usopp could go through the same training and obstacles that his father has. There could be shooting ranges, hard to hit targets, or even animals that Yasopp fought here in the past. The animal throw-in seems kind of random, but Dory and Brogy did compare the Gorosei to common Elbaf animals, so we could get a nice workout against those guys if given the time. And plus, we did see how insanely strong Luffy got by fighting the animals of Ruskaina, with the animals of Elbaf being at least 10 times larger than anything Luffy saw during the time skip. I'm sure the training arc could go pretty damn hard. Another thing we could get out of this father and son dynamic has to do with Yasopp's title. Yasopp has the nickname of Chaser, which could imply that its bullets never miss, or that they seemingly, quote, chase their target. Epithets in One Piece could always be immensely exaggerated, but if we were to take the title at heart, then maybe Usopp could achieve the same level of accuracy or the homing missile effect that his father, in bold asterisk, might have. I feel like this power-up could even be the key to defeating future opponents such as Van Augur. The Van Augur matchup is one that's been hyped up ever since we met him back in Jaya. Just like how the fandom believes that if they have a sword, they're automatically a Zoro opponent, if someone has a long-range weapon, then they are automatically an Usopp opponent. Van Augur is a wily one. His teleportation devil fruit grants him the ability to get out of tough spots quite easily, as well as get into opportune vantage points. As things are right now, Usopp doesn't stand a chance in hell when it comes to beating him, let alone even hitting him. Even though Usopp is a talented sniper and can probably hit any target, it doesn't mean much if the opponent can just teleport away. So how will Usopp be able to hit Van Augur if they were to fight? I believe that Usopp will attain new skills on Elbaf that will allow him to overcome this hurdle. The first idea I want to propose is Usopp learning how to curve his bullets or do trick shots by ricocheting them. Usopp has always been known as the craftiest member of the crew, so him doing insane off-the-wall shots would fit his character quite well. If Usopp were to get more skilled in the world of sniping in this manner, then that could make him very hard to predict and dodge. Another idea is that maybe he gets an ability that is akin to his father's title, Chaser, and he learns how to have his pop greens follow his target, which isn't that insane either, since his pop greens are actual living attacks. These abilities could help him close the gap in the Van Augur matchup and are ways that Usopp can grow as a bona fide sniper. But Usopp isn't just a sniper though. He's a warrior too, which is why I want to talk about the most common theory revolving around Usopp, the theory that he will obtain Thor's hammer Mjolnir, or at least whatever Mjolnir-inspired lightning hammer Oda decides to put into the story. We already know that the Prince of Elbaf was given the name Loki, and where there's a Loki, there's typically a Thor. Of course, he has not been mentioned as of yet, but it isn't too hard to imagine that he and his hammer possibly exist in the verse to some extent. Throughout the series, Usopp has had a fondness for hammers. He first used a regular hammer in combat against 2 of the Arlong pirates, then later upgraded to a 5-ton hammer, which he used against Mr. 4 in Alabasta. He later upgrades the weight to a 10-ton hammer, which he then used against Perona in Thriller Bark. Not too many people took note of this, but Usopp even has a 100-ton hammer as well. And instead of getting larger and larger, this is actually where Usopp started reducing the size of his hammer, probably for practicality's sake, since in Film Z, we saw the 100-ton hammer make its debut, and it was actually smaller than the 5-ton and 10-ton variants. While it first appeared in Film Z, it was later made canon since it was shown deflated and destroyed when it is revealed that Usopp lost against Sugar in Treble in chapter 742. All of that was to essentially say that while hammers aren't really that common in battles against snipers, Usopp is quite skilled with one. He's actually so skilled with the hammer that in his fight against Mr. 4, his finishing move is him literally shooting him with a hammer. So Usopp acquiring a super powerful lightning hammer would not just work as a close range weapon, but even as a long range one too. And if he gets the mythological hammer Mjolnir that everybody talks about, then it could work wonders for him since, in the stories, this hammer has the power to return to its user like a boomerang once thrown. This would allow Usopp to be able to fire off this hammer multiple times in a singular battle. As far as why Usopp would wield it and not anyone else though, I have a couple of possibilities for this one. This part, like much of the video, is just speculation, and that is why I try to bring up as many different ideas per subject. So, the first reason why Usopp might be the only one to wield Mjolnir is that it could actually just be a human-sized hammer in a land full of giants. The giants might actually not be able to wield it due to the difference in size. Another reason I think Usopp alone might claim Mjolnir is because in some iterations of Mjolnir's story, it is actually a hammer that was forged by dwarves, which, oddly enough, is a race that exists within One Piece, them being the Tontatta tribe. Well before we met them, Usopp was the first one who actually foreshadowed a tribe of dwarves in chapter 24. Before he said that Usopp was blowing smoke up in chapter 24, he actually says that he once killed a giant goldfish and then gave the meat to dwarves to eat, and that they're still eating it to this very day. Which is a key note, since in chapter 713, the Tontatta tribe mentions that the fighting fish that live off the coast of Greenbit are actually related to giant goldfish, and that they are the tribe's main source of food. The next time the Tontatta tribe was referenced as dwarves would be in chapter 292 by Noland. The Usopp and Noland connection could be pivotal here, since, back when we first met the Tontattas, Usopp lied to them and said that he was actually related to Noland. That is what initially made the Tontattas want to ally with the Straw Hats, and even got all of the Straw Hats their silly nicknames like Usoland, Luffyland, Robinland, and etc. Back to the main point though, but maybe the hammer, Mjolnir, was crafted by the One Piece version of dwarves, the Tontatas, as a gift for their hero Noland and his descendants. That could be why Usopp becomes the sole wielder of it, because he once lied that he was related to Noland. As far as how the Giants would know about this connection though, it could be thanks to Haruden, the giant member of the Grand Fleet. He was present when Usopp became God Usopp, and he might have noticed that the Tontatas refer to Usopp as Uso Land. Another, more insane reason why Usopp could become the sole wielder of Mjolnir is that it could be a weapon that has eaten a mythological Zoan devil fruit. Usopp was the first character in the series that had to actually face one of these combinations, that opponent being Lasso, the bazooka dog in Alabasta. Ever since then, we've been wondering how inanimate objects can consume devil fruits. We initially thought we'd learn all about this on Agate Island since Dr. Vegapunk was the one who discovered the method, but that never came to fruition. But never say never, because we still have the Lilith Vegapunk with us. If we come to find out that Mjolnir is actually a living Zoan hammer, then she could give us all the details as to how that could have happened. If the hammer is indeed a mythical Zoan, then this could be another reason why no one else can wield it. Maybe, since it is alive, it chooses who can and cannot pick it up. If that is the case, then why would Usopp be able to wield it? Well, maybe Usopp has exactly what it desires. Usopp has been the main supplier of two things throughout the whole series: tall tales and negativity. So perhaps the hammer creature needs a good laugh or story to actually power itself up, or maybe it is a creature that feeds off of negativity. I personally enjoy the idea of the hammer being a mythological creature that feeds off of negative energy, because that was shown to be what separates Usopp from the rest of the crew back at Thriller Bark. When faced off against Perona, none of the Straw Hats could beat her negative devil fruit except for Usopp. The reasoning behind this was because Usopp is the most negative person alive, and no one thinks less of himself than him. As far as mythological creatures go, a majority of them tend to feed off of emotions. So a creature that wants to work for Usopp and Usopp alone could potentially play out in this scenario. Another reason why mythological Zoan hammer sounds good on paper is because it would explain why the One Piece version of Mjolnir would produce lightning. Aside from Mjolnir's functionality as a boomerang, it's mostly known for its ability to conjure lightning. Maybe whatever Zoan fruit the hammer has lightning-related abilities. The idea that Elbaf might have discovered how to give inanimate objects devil fruits could have been hinted at with the character Goldberg, a member of the new giant pirates and the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. In chapter 899's cover page story, you can actually see him posed up with a seemingly living shield. We don't know much about this character, so it's not confirmed, but there are only 3 real possibilities as to why the shield looks like this. It's either 1. The shield ate a devil fruit, 2. Big Mom brought the shield to life, or 3. Maybe he just painted a face on it because he's freaky. So yeah, if this is the first option, then this could have been Oda opening the door to living weapons in the land of giants. Moving on though, if Usopp does not get the hammer, then there's always the chance that Usopp could get a spear. And since Elbaf is inspired by Nordic themes, maybe this spear just so happens to be Gungnir, the mythical spear that never misses its target. Just like how we justified Mjolnir's existence with Loki, we can do the same with Gungnir, since this is the spear that in mythology is wielded by Odin, the father of Thor. Funny enough, Gungnir has actually been name-dropped in the series before, with Haruden's finishing move against Magvice's 10,000-ton press actually being named Gungnir. While a spear would seem really strange within Usopp's arsenal and within the story, we do have to keep in mind that Oda has been hinting at the importance of spears for quite a while now. The first one I want to point out would be the spear that Sun God Nika had in his first silhouette. Since the giants worship the sun god in Elbaf, there is a chance that this legendary spear resides there. Another hint of a legendary spear would be initially shown in chapter 129 when Dory and Brogy brutalize the giant goldfish of Little Garden. They called their Hakuoku sovereignty the legendary spear of the giants of Elbaf. They further go on to say that the only thing their attack cannot pierce is a snake soaked in blood. This line is important for many different theories, such as the giants' goal being to destroy the Red Line and or the existence of a mantra snake, but those are theories for a different day. The fact that the giants describe their attack as the giant's spear could be alluding to the notion of more legendary spears existing on Elbaf. The last spear hint regarding Usopp is the fact that after the Straw Hats left Skypiea, the residents decided to make a theme park in the clouds called Wagomu Land, with the main attraction and headliner being a buffed out version of Usopp wielding and being surrounded by spears. One really cool thing about this cover page story is that written on Usopp's statue is the title Dendoshi, which translates to evangelist. And then, on the shield on the left, Oda actually writes out the kanji for God. This at the time was seen as solid foreshadowing that Usopp would later become God Usopp, since this chapter was released during the Fishman Island arc. So if it was foreshadowing for Usopp's bounty upgrade, then maybe it could have been foreshadowing his future spear as well. One Piece's Gungnir, if it functions like how it does in mythology, would be an insane addition to Usopp's moveset. Having a weapon that never misses its target would be perfect in Usopp's fight against Van Augur. One thing this could also tie in with would be Usopp's storyline with Loki, the Prince of Elbaf. In Norse legends, while Gungnir in the end is Odin's spear, it was actually crafted by the dwarves and was later then obtained by Loki. So perhaps Usopp could befriend the trickster god and become Gungnir's wielder. Alright, so moving on, but if Usopp doesn't get any new weapons on Elbaf, then perhaps he could simply upgrade his current arsenal. The Pop Greens. Let's be real, his Pop Greens right now absolutely suck. I was one of those chumps back in Wano, where when I saw Usopp initially going against page 1, the weakest Tobiropo, I was ecstatic, because I thought Usopp was about to get an insane W against all odds and show us another feat of confidence. But that wasn't the case. Instead, what we witnessed was a majority of Usopp's Pop Greens doing little to no damage to page 1 at all. Pop Greens need to be buffed at least a little bit if they want to remain relevant against future opponents. So maybe that is what happens on Elbaf. We do know that everything is much bigger in the Land of Giants, so maybe Usopp will run into bigger and badder flora that he can then add to his collection. Next up, we gotta talk about Haki. Usopp being a sniper could greatly benefit from advanced observation Haki, or maybe a brand new variation of it. We saw that back in Film Red, not canon of course, he managed to connect his eyesight and vision to his father's, which allowed them to coordinate their attacks on Todd Musica. So maybe Oda takes that idea and brings it into the canon story. If he acquired this type of observation Haki, then it would be like if he suddenly awakened the Rinnegan from Naruto. He would be able to see every angle of the battlefield and would allow him to plan his attacks out strategically. Usopp obtaining a specialized version of observation Haki wouldn't be that strange either, since it seems that Oda wants to start focusing on new variations of existing Haki now that we're in the final saga. Since, in Volume 4 Billion, Oda mentioned that Shanks has the ability to cancel out his opponent's observational Haki. If Oda keeps pushing the boundaries and potential of Haki, then I could easily see Usopp obtaining a grander version of any observation Haki we have seen thus far. This again would be what could give him an edge against Van Augur. With Blackbeard's crew being so focused on devil fruits, it would be on theme that what defeats them is simply well-polished Haki. I know, I keep on bringing up Van Augur like he's the boogeyman, but I think he's a great way to gauge where Usopp needs to be in the future. Alright, so that right there were just a few ideas on how I think Usopp could get a potential level up on Elbaf, if not just in the future of the series in general. With that being said though, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Do you agree with any of the ideas I proposed, or do you not? And also, what ideas do you have, right? What ideas do you have for Usopp moving forward? I would love to hear them all down in the comment section, and I will catch you guys later. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.